Hey everyone, it's Sarah from Sass Series, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite series, the original Daughter of the Forest Sevenwaters trilogy. It's called the Sevenwaters series. Originally, it was published by Juliet Marillier as a trilogy, but there is a total of 6 books set in this beautiful world, which I consider to be better than Harry Potter. I know, I'm like spouting blasphemy right now because everyone heralds Harry Potter as like one of the best fantasies ever, but I don't even care because this to me is my fantasy crack. Like, this is what I want in a fantasy. These 3 books, we have Daughter of the Forest, and we have Son of the Shadows, and Child of the Prophecy, and they're lineage stories, you guys. So we're introduced to Sorcha, who is the 7th daughter in the Sevenwaters family. She has a total of 6 brothers. She's the youngest child, and her father is the Lord. There's an ongoing feud with Britain over their land and their territory because they're trying to protect their very sacred land, which is steeped in old magic by the Fae and the others. And her father ends up marrying a sorceress, which is like a human who can live longer in this world than your average human because they come from the Fae and they decided to take part in practicing dark magic. So they live for long periods of time, but they're not magical beings because that ability has been stripped for them. So they have to practice magic from a source, but not from the same source as the fairies, or as the others. And then you have, so Lady Unag, she's like the main villain of this entire trilogy, and this is where we see her for the first time. She ends up turning Sorcha's 6 brothers into swans, and she is tasked with sewing them t-shirts with this poisonous stalwart. So she has to make t-shirts out of this very poisonous plant whenever she, like, with her bare fingers, and it's like this great poison that like makes you feel like paralyzed as it's like sticking its thorns into you. So it's like this horrible, taxing, grueling process, and she has to do it 6 times. And then she also cannot speak. She can verbally speak, but if she does speak, the spell will remain intact, and her brothers will never come back in human form. They'll be swans forever. I think there's like once a year where they can become humans again, and so there are interactions. And the love interest in here, oh my gosh, yes, so good, so good. One of the best fantasies ever. It's feminist. Sorcha is so strong. She's a healer. She's resourceful. She goes through these horrible situations. She was like gang raped. Couldn't even speak while it was happening because if she would, her brothers would remain swans. She was like almost burned at the stake. She went through it, and she prevailed. She's a real queen. Love her. Then we follow her daughter, which is Lyaden. And I really enjoy Lyaden's story. So we follow Lyaden, and this means we get to see all the beloved characters who survived Daughter of the Forest, because y'all, Juliet Marillier, she don't play. She kills people off, and it is not fun. And this book broke me because it's a sad fest. Like, oh my god, the tragedy. Like, my favorites were dying, and I was like, no! But it's so good. It follows Lyaden. And, you know, she's a lot like her mom, but also like her dad, who I'm not going to tell you what his name is because it's a spoiler for, like, the love triangle thingy in here. But it's not much of a love triangle because we all know who she chose and who she's going to be with because he's obviously the best one. But she's, like, super awesome, and she ends up, like, you know, getting roped into this band of, like, misfits. And there's this man. He's like a villain who comes into play in the last book of the trilogy. What was his name? To be honest, I don't remember his name. I've like scrubbed it from my memory. But we also see Sorcha's other kids and the tragedy that unfolds with her first daughter. Then we get to just experience Laiden's own journey. And guess what? This is where it gets cool, because you know that band of misfits? She ends up falling in love with the guy who like runs it, and she ends up getting pregnant, and she's like a single mom for like half of the story. And it's awesome, because I was like, yes girl, you are slaying. And then she's like going to rescue her like boo thing, and she's got the baby on her back, and I'm like, yes, Laiden, you are a queen. So yeah, she's awesome. This one is not as magical as Daughter of the Forest, because it's definitely more political. Like, the villain that Laiden encounters is supposed to be her fiance, and he's a jerk of epic proportions. So this is much more, you know, political, and I think kind of more romance centered, which I was here for because I loved this one a lot. Like, this one's so good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. But she's a seer, if I remember correctly. So like, she can see the future. So I was like, I love this. Like, it lended things. Like, there was always this like intense fear of I know things that I don't want to know, and I appreciated that. It made things so much fun. And then the third book in the trilogy is Child of the Prophecy by Juliet Marillier, and this one follows Sorcha's granddaughter, not Laiden's son, or any of Laiden's children, but Niama's daughter. And y'all, Niama and the father of her child, what's her name? Fane. They had a very tragic story, like incredibly tragic, and the tragedy continues in here. Juliet Marillier likes to write dark stuff, and I love to eat it up, and we return to Sevenwaters through the eyes of someone who wants to take it down. Like, Fane is a villain. She's not here to rescue people, but at the same time she loves the people of Sevenwaters after she gets to know them. And I was like, girl, you better not take my family down, because those are my people. And she is infuriating. So like, this book wasn't a favorite of mine just because I was like, Fane, do not ruin these precious children. But it's so good. It's so good. The writing's beautiful. It's dark. It's intense. And we get to see the final showdown with Lady Unog come to pass, because Lady Unog has ties to Fane through this line. Sorcha and Lady Unog's line has been intermingled even more. So I won't say how, because spoilers, but oh my gosh, like, it's great. I just love how brilliant the writing is. Juliet Marillier writes these beautiful characters, even the minor characters. I love them. I just love the world, love the atmosphere. I love it all so much, and I'm sorry we're having technical difficulties with our cable, so there's a cable person walking around my house right now. But you should definitely check out this series if you are a fan of fantasy. I wouldn't call it grimdark because I don't think it fits into the grimdark genre, but it fits into like the fantastical dark fae genre, and it is based off of a fairy tale. So if you love fairy tale retellings, here you go. But it stands on its own so beautifully. I love these books. They're great. If you're gonna ask me how would I rank them, I would rank them in order 1, 2, 3, because to me, Daughter of the Forest is the epitome of a beautiful fantasy story, and it's my all-time favorite fantasy story. Son of the Shadows does a pretty dang good job of holding up after Daughter of the Forest, but it's not gonna knock it out of that spot, because I have a soft spot for Sorcha and her buffet. But Laiden, oh, I love her. And I wasn't the biggest fan of Fane, but she definitely won me over in the end. So, yeah. Let me know down below in the comments if you're going to check out the Sevenwaters trilogy, because I'm so happy that I finally continued with these 2 books this year. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you down below in the comments. Bye, and happy reading.